Hey, it's me, James, and in this video I'm going to be doing an unboxing and walkthrough of a deck that I was sent by the people at Rockpool, and that is the Witching Hour Oracle. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me for this very special video. As I said in the opening, I'm going to be doing an unboxing and walkthrough of a deck that I was recently sent by the people at Rockpool, and I'm just so excited. So first and foremost, thank you to the people at Rockpool for even knowing that I exist. So this is how it happened. I post cards on Instagram, and if you follow me here on YouTube, then you'll see some of those same posts on my community tab on my channel page. And so one day through Instagram, the people at Rockpool sent me a DM, a direct message, asking me if I would be interested in some advanced copies of decks when they become available. And so of course I said yes, because I don't know about you, but I watch a number of unboxing videos because in this day and age, I like when people share decks because it makes me a more informed consumer, and I'll know in advance whether I want to purchase a deck or not. So thank you to all of those people who do unboxing videos. I truly appreciate what you do for me in terms of making me a more informed consumer. So, but there was always a part of me that was like, how do people get those advanced copies of decks on other channels? You know, I've seen them, be gifted decks from other publishing companies, and I go like, how does that happen? What can I do to kind of do that? Because I purchase a number of decks from a number of major publishing companies, and it's like, how do they do that? Well, I was just so delighted because now I feel like I'm included in that list of people. But anyway, that's what happened. So Rockpool reached out to me through Instagram, and they sent me a list of decks asking me which ones I would be interested in. And so, of course, I picked this one. So, like I said, without any further ado, it is the Witching Hour Oracle. This is the top of the box. And so this deck will be released in October. And I'm filming this on Friday, September the 22nd. And I'm so excited about the day because it is the day before Mabon, and so that is a pagan celebration, pagan holiday, festivity, and it kind of highlights the fact that the seasons are changing. So when we are moving towards the end of summer and the beginning of fall, and so for me as a magical practitioner, this is the time of the year where I dedicate myself to my craft, because I work 2 jobs, I lead a busy life, and so sometimes my craft can suffer for it. And so I was thinking, as Mabon is approaching, this is an opportunity for me to dedicate myself more to my craft, and this is a perfect reason or excuse to do that. So I just love the timing of me being gifted this deck. So again, this is the front of the box. The deck is by Lorriane, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Anderson. She is the author of the very popular, best-selling Seasons of the Witch Oracle series, where they highlight, each deck in the series highlights a specific Sabbath in the Wheel of the Year. And so I do believe that the next one that it's also published by Rockpool, by the way, that they have in this series coming up is Imbolc. So I'm looking forward to that one. And the art is by Olivia Bürki. Now, I do know about Olivia Bürki's work, so I was very excited because she is the artist on this deck, which is also published by Rockpool, which is the Pure Magic Oracle. I love this deck. So if you are interested in seeing an unboxing of this as a result of watching this video, let me know. So this is the Pure Magic Oracle, also by Rockpool. Now, I will say, in full disclosure, I did purchase this deck. This was one I had purchased when it first came out. Okay, so I've shown you the front of the box. I'll show you the sides. And on the inside, it's a nice soft yellow. I'll show you the back of the box. So here's the back of the box. you want to pause that so you could read the text, I'll read it, but if you want to pause it, I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, so the back of the box says, Awaken Your Inner Witch. Lorriane Anderson, best-selling author of the Seasons of the Witch Oracle series, was inspired to create this deck at a time when she doubted her spiritual path and questioned her beliefs. The energies channeled through this deck helped her to rediscover her true self, and now she offers it to you to support you as you step into your true power. This oracle deck will guide you to the answers that are already within your spirit, helping you unlock the wisdom and courage to overcome spiritual blocks, follow your dreams, and manifest the best version of you. Each card in this deck represents a step on this journey to awaken your inner witch. And so it's 44 cards, and it has a guidebook. So on the back, there's you'll see images or thumbnails of 3 of the cards in the deck. So the inside of the box is, again, soft yellow. There's no text or anything like that. So now you'll also get in the, and I kept it just for this reason, you'll also get a flyer. That's a promotional flyer for the Rockpool app. That's the front and the back of that. Now the deck came with a plastic band or a paper band. I'm not sure, I already took it off because I've been working with this deck. If you follow my postings on my community tab, which I mentioned about earlier, you will note that I've already posted some cards from the deck, because I did a review or a walkthrough kind of sort of on Instagram. I did a post where I featured aspects of the deck. Okay, so here are the card backs. I'll start with that. So there is a little bit of a gloss. I'm going to hold it, and hopefully the light won't pick up too much of the glare, but that is the back. I love it. It's a brownish color for me that represents like the earth, very natural. And you'll see phases of the moon. And if you notice, there is like a sun. Looks like a sun to me on each side of the card. And then we have eyes. Now I like the eyes. Eyes for me represent vision. But it also can be about clairvoyance. You know, your second sight. And so the design makes it that you could read the cards inverted if you wanted to, because it looks the same to me, whether it's upright or inverted. I tend not to read my cards inverted, and there's no meanings in the guidebook for inverted cards. So we'll talk about the guidebook at a later point in time. You know, in some videos, other people share the guidebook and talk about the guidebook first and do the cards, but I'm such a card junkie that I want to do the cards first. So those are the backs, like I said. So the cards are also gilded in this soft yellow. It matches the interior of the box, now that I think about it. But that's the color. Okay? So now we'll walk through the cards. I'm going to show all the cards because, like I said, I like to be an informed consumer. And I like to show all the cards because in this day and age, I don't want any surprises, right? It's always in my mind, like, the one card that people don't show in some of their walkthroughs because those people don't want to share all of it. They want you to be surprised. I always imagine in my mind, like, that would be the one card that I wouldn't like, is the one I didn't see. So I'm going to show all of them. So if you don't want to see all of them, you may want to skip around or do what you feel you need to do so you can be surprised if you wind up purchasing the deck. But I'm going to show them all. So like I said, there's 44 cards, and so I'm going to show you the first card. So the first card is Knowing. And so as you'll see that each card is numbered. There's a number. There's the name of the card, and then there's a little phrase. And so this is the image. So I'll read the phrase. It says, take the first step. So that is Knowing. It's a beautiful image. Next up we have Solitary Witch. And the phrase here is, heal yourself first. Card number 3 is Feeding Crows. And the keyword is transformation. Card 4 is familiar. Yes, and the deep bonds. I will share with you as I'm flipping through some of the cards that I really do enjoy. This is one I really like. This is the invitation, and the keyword is yes. I just love the image. Card number 6 is the witching hour. It says here, favorable circumstances for the keywords. Card number 7, I will say, as a magical practitioner, for me, representation, is always important. So for me, these days, when I purchase a deck of any kind that has kind of a witchy, pagan vibe to it, I want to see diverse representation and representation where I can actually identify with the deck in some way. And so I'm leading up to say that most of the decks that I get that have that theme are very female centric, and there's not throwing any shade and nothing wrong with that. But every now and again, I would like to see a person of color or a male person even, or in the best of both worlds, a male who is a person of color in the deck. Again, that just wanting that sense of representation of being seen, right? So I'm leading up because in this card, Cloak and Dagger, there is a male. And the other person that the male is embracing is ambiguous, so it could be two males on the card. But now, I will say, not entirely happy that the male is on a card called Cloak and Dagger, and the keyword is deception, but sometimes you gotta take what you get, right? So, but I like the fact that there's a male, or at least a male and a male presenting possibly figure on the card. But this is Cloak and Dagger, and this is Deception. Now, I will say, somebody once told me, and this is about perspective when you're reading oracle cards, which is a good point, right? I just assume, like, the person who's holding the knife is actually, you know, possibly a shady character up to no good. But somebody pointed out to me, like, well, it could be that you're looking at it, you know, I'm going to offer a different perspective. What if the person is actually preparing themselves or arming themselves to defend themselves from the person that's being embraced? I thought, okay. I didn't think of it that way, you know, in looking at it initially, but that's another possibility. So that is, again, Cloak and Dagger. Next, card 8 is the Forest. And the keywords here is seeing the bigger picture, right? And I talked about perspective, right? This would be heightened perspective, right? Bird's eye view. Next up, we have Secret Trail. This is card 9. And the keyword here is Ascension. Card 10 is the Hanging Bones. And it says here, seeing the signs. That's the keywords or key phrase. Okay. So I've had this card turn up in my own personal work with the card so far, or with the deck, I should say, so far. This is card 11. This is enter at your own risk. And the keyword there is pause. Now, I do know from looking at the guidebook, this is a no card, just as the invitation was a yes. When this card turns up, one of its meanings is that it's a no card. It's either, like, you know, taking a pause, but it's also a no card. Now, I like this card. Here's card 12, the Elements. And the key phrase is back to basics. Now, what I love about here, you can clearly see diversity in the image, right? But there's 5 witches on the card. And for me, each one could be representation for each of the elements. You know, for me, I work with the 5 elements. So that's, of course, earth, air, fire, water being the 4, and then spirit being the 5th. So I love this card just for that. So that is the elements. And here we have card 13, the initiation. And I love seeing a person of color in this card. And the key phrase is a sacred test. Next we have card 14. This is the High Priestess. And the key word here is leadership. Now here's a card I love. I love the image. This is card 15. This is the Sacred Vows. And this is commitment, is the key word. And what I love the image. There's all these words in her hair, right? All these, and her hair looks ethereal almost, right? So for me, I imagined like this is all the thoughts that we have going on in our head. And I haven't done it yet. I haven't looked closely enough at it yet to see if those are actual words and phrases or not. But I love this. I pulled this card recently in my own personal practice, and it gave me the idea as we're approaching Mavon about the idea about dedicating or rededicating myself to my craft. So that is, again, this is the Sacred Vows. Card 16 is prying eyes, and the phrase is someone has their eyes on you. Now when I was first going through the deck, because what I do is when I first get a deck, I like to open it up and actually take a moment to sit with all the cards and look at them one at a time. So when I was doing that, the Hall & Oates song, now I'm much older than probably some of you watching this video, but the Hall & Oates song, Private Eyes, kept playing in my head. You know that, the part where they go, private eyes, they're watching you, watching your every move, right? Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind. So, there you go. So that is, again, the prying eyes. Next card is, and again, I like this image. So here we have Coven, and the phrase here, soul family, again, diversity, and I like the fact that there is a male presenting person, possibly, in the card. Next up, another card I like, again, just for the diversity. Here we have Cast the Circle. And for me, the person in the middle looks to be male presenting. And then the phrase here, we have raising vibrations, yeah? Isn't that the idea when you're casting a circle, you want to raise the energy? Next up is card 19. This is the Flames. And this could be a male presenting. So I get a twofer with this one. Male presenting, and it could be male presenting person of color. Yeah? So this is the Flames, and the key word there is transformation. Next up, card 20 is Dance. Keyword there is freedom. Card 21 is Flying Ointment. And it's let loose is the phrase. I like this one, of course. This is the Book of Spells, card 22. Some of us might call it a Book of Shadows or a grimoire. And the key word there is learn. Right? And any of us knows, as magic practitioners, we're always encouraged to read, research, and that just know that wherever you are, in terms of experience, that you are always learning. It's a never-ending process when it comes to the learning or educational aspect, yeah? So there's that. The next card, 23, is the Spirits. And this is respecting spirit is the phrase. And for me personally, this makes me think of Samhain. You know, I talked about Mabon coming up, but the next Sabbath after that is Samhain, because it makes me think of the spirit world. That's when it's said that the veil is thinning between this world and the spirit world. So when I first saw this image, it made me think of Samhain. And of course, then the eye represents like second sight, seeing into the spirit world, so to speak. Next up, card 24 is Forgotten Ghosts, and the keyword there is reunion. Card 25 is Mud and Moss. Keyword there is stagnation. Card 26 is Witch's Brew. I like the image. And the phrase here is seek alternative solutions. Right, and isn't that what isn't what working with magic is? That's an alternative solution, yeah? Card 27, along the same lines, is Witching Herbs. Right, so that, you know, you get the idea here with, and the keyword here is nourishment. You get the idea here with like kitchen witchery or green witchery, or, you know, just being an herbalist and being into herbalism. Here's a card I like, Seasons of the Witch. And here we have the Wheel of the Year, highlighting the change in seasons, transitions. And the phrase here is honoring cycles. Card 29 is Broken Branch. And the keyword there is heartache. I like this one, card 30. The spell is cast. And then the phrase is let go. Right? It's said that once you do your spell work, you release any expectations that you may be holding about the outcome. Right? You want to just kind of surrender it to the divine if you are into divinity of any kind. But you want to surrender it. You don't want to be thinking about it all the time, right? You want to just let it, you've done your work, now let the spell do its work, right? You don't want to be thinking about it constantly. Right, but I like that. Next we have card 31. This is Invocations, the Power of Words. I love this, because that's true, right? And regardless of whether you're a magical practitioner or not, I mean, at least for me anyway, speaking for myself, I understand the power of our words. Words are very powerful things. Right? The words themselves, you don't even have to do a spell. You could just do the invocation. The power of your words sometimes can be enough. Right? So there is some words on here in her skirt, so I'm going to read that. It says, I recognize the power of my words and use them for the good of all. So that is Invocations. Card 32, cute image, is Moon Water. Yeah. It makes me think of those who make water and then charge it in the moonlight. And the phrase here is, or the keyword is, reset. Next up we have card 33. This is Poison Thorn. And the phrase is low vibrations. Card 34, I find interesting. This is the Witch Hunter. And the key word there is danger. Card 35. This is a card that has turned up in my personal work with the cards a couple of times now. This is Bewitched. And it says, you're under a spell. Now, if you notice in the image, what I've derived from the image so far is that this, to me, looks like the same woman. It just looks like dual aspects of her. This is her more angelic nature, good side, right? And then her not so good side, the devil. Makes me think of the idea in those images. I'm a comic book person or a cartoonist. You know, that was in my former life, I wanted to do that kind of work. But it makes me think of those cartoons where you have the person, you have the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder, yeah? And they're both talking to you. It's like, which side are you going to pay attention to? Now, since I mentioned Hall & Oates and Private Eyes with the other card, the Prying Eyes card, this card makes me think in terms of music. I think of Kelly Clarkson's Dark Side, yeah? Where she talks about, the song is really about everybody has a dark side, yeah? So this could be like, you know, of course, you know, someone's working against you, you know, kind of thing. Or that, you know, you have to keep in mind, are you going to let yourself be ruled by your not so good side? You know, this might be curbing temptations, you know. Temptation to do not so good things, yeah. But it's also about balance, you know what I mean? It's about, sometimes I'm looking at the image too, and I think I said in my post, I think I posted this card. Actually, it was my first post with the deck in my community tab and on social media. And I said this is about embracing your shadow side, yeah? So that's another way of looking at this too, because we all have it. You know, it doesn't matter how good you think you are or how enlightened you think you are, or how enlightened you become. There are always going to be moments when you're going to be faced or confronted with your shadow and needing to do shadow work. We all have to do it. Well, I should say, let me rephrase that. It's not that we all have to do it. We all can choose to do it if we're setting the intention that we want to grow and develop as individuals, right? Either psychologically or spiritually, you know, because not everybody is spiritual. Right, so anyway, that is my thoughts on Bewitched. Next up, we have Bathing in the River. This is self-care, is the keywords. And here we have card 37, Crossing the Veil. And the keyword there is mourning. And you could see in the image there's a woman who's putting her makeup on, and then there's a spirit next to her. Card 38 is Witch of the Woods. The keyword there is retreat. Card 39 is Midnight Moth, and the word there is distraction. Card 40, As Above, So Below. And the keyword there is manifestation. Card 41, I love this card, is Salt. And the keyword there is boundaries, right? I can relate to this one. So this is 42. It is To the Grave. And the keyword there is secrets. And I always think about, you know, all the things that people have shared with me over the course of my lifetime, and all those things that I'm going to take with me when I transition out of this world, because I believe in confidentiality. I mean, yes, of course, in my work as a reader, that is a big thing. It's all about practicing confidentiality, because people share all sorts of things with you when you work as a reader. And but aside from that, outside of that, even before that, people just felt compelled to, must be my face or the image that I give off, or you know, the energy that I give off, because people always want to feel compelled to tell me all sorts of things, and a lot of that is in confidence, you know. And so first and foremost, I think that's a great sign of trust, that people want to trust you, right, with their private thoughts and feelings, right, or their circumstances, right. But a lot of that stuff I'm going to take with me to the grave. So that's my thought with this card. Card 43, I love this image. This is the blood trail, and the keyword is magnificence. Oh, isn't this a great image? I love the figure at the top here. And there's figures at the bottoms of the card. So this, I just love it. It's a beautiful image, but that is the blood trail. And the phrase makes me think of lineage, ancestry. I don't know what the guidebook has to say about it, because this card has not turned up in my own personal work with the deck yet, but I do love the image. And then the last card. Now this card I did post recently. And this is Deep Being. I love this image. And the phrase here is self-love and acceptance. And I love the phases of the moon at the top. So those are the 44 cards of the deck. And so now that I've shown you the deck, I'm going to adjust the camera so we can take a look at the guidebook. I want to make sure that there's not going to be too much glare on the pages, or that you're not going to be able to see the pages. So I'm going to take a moment to readjust the camera. So I'll be back. So I'm back, and in my hand I'm holding the Witching Oracle Guidebook. So it's just looking at it, there's a good bit of information if you just go by the size of it. It's the same size as the deck, of course, because it comes in the box with the deck. So let's just take a look at some of these. I want to show you one thing that I really do enjoy about the deck, and so you'll see that it's in full color. And this is the image from Enter at Your Own Risk on the left side of the page, the spread there. So here are the contents. So I'll just pause that for a moment so we could take a look at that. So there's the introduction, and the introduction is so good. Oh my gosh, it made me want to work with the deck some more, because in the introduction, I'll show you when we get to it, Lorriane recounts her experience with the deck in terms of its creation. It's a fantastic story, and I'll show you why. Then how to use the cards, you are the magic, and then it goes into the cards. And you know, for those of you who are interested, the cards are listed by number on the left, and then the page that you'll find that particular entry on. And this is the image from The Witch's Brew. And then this is the image from the Secret Trail. I was going to say the Ascension card, but that's with the keyword. All right, so here's the introduction. So as Lorriane is recounting how the deck came into being, there are certain places where she mentions a particular card. So I'll just read the first sentence here. If you want to pause it so you can read the entire page, you can go ahead and do that. But here, the idea for this oracle deck came to me in a time of extreme transition. And then in parentheses, she puts the initiation. And throughout the story, that's what she does. In certain places, she will name a card, right? And so for me, reading the introduction, it made me feel like I could create, based on her story or her narrative here, that she's creating meanings for the cards as she's recounting the story, yeah, that you could consider for your working with the deck, right? So there's that page, and what I'll do is I'll flip it, and I'll pause this here. If you want to pause it, you can, so you could read it more. What I might do is this, if that helps, for the one side, and then this for the other. but I just love the introduction. I have never been so fascinated by an introduction in a book or a guidebook before, or not like this anyway. So there's that, and then she goes into this idea. Now this is an important aspect of the deck. She talks about companion cards, and so companion cards are cards that kind of, if you're doing more than one card pull, meaning like if you're doing multiple cards, like 2 or 3 cards, she has a section in each entry listing the companion cards that kind of correspond, or you could read in connection with particular cards. So I'll give you a better idea of what I'm talking about when we get to that, like an entry in the book. But she also has this idea of, like, if you work with tarot, she lists like the tarot companion card for each card. So if you want to mix this, working with this deck with your tarot decks, you could, because there's companion cards from tarot that correspond. The way I work with those is that I take the tarot card idea and see how it's reflected in the card itself. So I don't necessarily combine them, but I do take the tarot meaning or association into consideration with the meaning of the card itself. Right? So then there's that. Then how to use companion cards, she talks about that. Then she talks about companion tarot cards. See, I jumped the gun there, but there's a page on companion tarot cards. And then the magic section is really card spreads. So I did my first spread or reading with this deck was actually this interview your deck spread. Now I've done many deck interview spreads, but I wanted to honor the fact that she included one. So I used the one presented in the book as my first reading. Then there's a 3-card spread. Then there's a Bathing in the River spread. Remember, there was a card in the deck called Bathing in the River. Then here, Finding Your Coven, Phases of the Moon, the Element spread, the Forest spread, and I like the phrase under there, seeing the bigger picture. The Book of Spells, and I like here that's considered a general situation spread. Then As Above, So Below. And then we move into the cards and the meanings. So the rest of the book is really the meaning of the cards. So now let's do the first one. I really want to highlight what she's talking about. So if you see here in the entry for knowing, so we have the name of the card, and then under keywords, she has keywords here. So I'm going to bring it closer. It says here, take the first step. Trust your soul and intuition. Don't wait until you're ready. And then here, it's a tarot companion. So if you're working with tarot, if the High Priestess and the Fool card would come up, they share similar meanings to this card, right? And that would make sense, right? When it says take the first step, isn't that really about the Fool? If you work with tarot, right? You know that the traditional, and when I say traditional, I'm talking about the RWS or the Smith-Waite variety, right, has the Fool about to step off a cliff, right? And then the High Priestess is about, trusting your intuition, right? So there's that. And then she has the entry, what the card is about. And then under companion cards, this is what she means. So here she has companion cards from the deck. And if you were to pull the High Priestess with knowing, then there's a meaning for that. The invitation, there's a meaning for that. And enter at your own risk, then there's a meaning for those cards together. I just love that. Right? And she does that with all the cards. Then, you see the same thing here for Solitary Witch. So then the last thing I really want to do is I want to jump to the end. So just so you can see the page, so this is the author page. This is Lorraine. Talks a little bit briefly about her and, you know, where you can find her on social media. And the same for the illustrator. This is Olivia. And so those are aspects of the guidebook that I wanted to share. And then here at the end, there's other titles by Lorraine. So funny, I'm talking about Mavon, and here they had the Seasons of the Witch Mavon Oracle. I believe that was just dropped or just released not too long ago. So there you go. So that's the guidebook. And so that brings this unboxing and walkthrough to a close. If you hung in here with me this long, thank you for joining me for this very special occasion, because again, like I said, I don't get decks offered to me from major publishers, so I'm so excited. And I want to, again, as I did in the opening, I want to thank the people at Rockpool for just knowing that I exist and offering this deck to me. It is one that I will actually be using in my own personal work, and I will continue to post cards from it on my community tab on YouTube. So if you haven't checked that out and you want to see Daily Dose of Divination, please look for postings there. This is James Mitchell again signing off, saying thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in this space in our next video together. So until then, take care and blessed be.